There wasn't much activity at the Texas Capitol this past week. We celebrated MLK Day, and many of us went to Washington, D.C. for the festivities of the inauguration of our new president. I'm pleased that I was one of the folks that got to go up there. And I went with my son, Cooper. He's a 13-year-old 8th grader at Keeling Middle School in the magnet program here in AISD. And it was really fun to see him soak all that in and be a part of it. But it was a great week for a lot of reasons. Not only did we get to see monuments and memorials, but we were there at the inaugural of the president. And there was an amazing sense of unity and people coming together. You know, words like hope and change and freedom, they're not just words. And there was this feeling among the crowd as we were making new friends and bumping literally right up against each other, that we could feel that hope and that change that might be coming and actually be able to fulfill the promise of what we all believe America ought to be. It's going to be tough. There are a lot of big challenges in this country right now. But with that unity of purpose and with a willingness to try and do new things and come together instead of fighting one another, I believe we're in for a new day and a time that will be very good for our country. This next week in the legislature, we've got a couple of things that are of importance. First, on Tuesday, the governor is going to give his State of the State address. That's typically a very important part of the legislative session because it's when the governor lays out the agenda that you expect him to follow. I'm going to be listening very closely because I think it is time for the governor to lay out an agenda that embraces the future instead of fights the future. That's going to be a couple of things he needs to be talking about. I expect to hear him talk about infrastructure and what we need to do to keep up and actually get a little bit ahead so that our economy can continue to succeed. I think it's going to be important to have him focus on health care. We really need to be focusing on issues like children's health care in this state. College tuition and the fact that it's skyrocketing and putting college out of reach for many of our middle class Texans. And what we're going to do in terms of how we expand the ability for people to go to college. I'm going to be looking for all of those things in this speech. We're expecting the Lieutenant Governor to name committee assignments. That's very important because you can't get anything passed through the Senate unless it first has a hearing in committee and comes out of committee. So who are committee chairs and who is on committees becomes very important. And finally, the House will debate its rules and how it's going to operate this week. That becomes important, of course, because last session, many folks remember that the House was fighting its rules and arguing over its rules till the very end. People believe that that's not going to be the case this time with the new speaker and with a closer bipartisan split. I'll report back to you next Monday.